Max Thornton wiped sweat from his brow as he adjusted the irrigation system for his newly planted tomatoes. 3 years on Proxima Centauri B, and he still hadn't mastered the art of growing Earth vegetables in alien soil. Not that he was complaining. The view of twin moons rising over purple mountains more than made up for slightly misshapen produce. "Just a dash more nitrogen," he muttered, tapping commands into his tablet. The soil monitoring system beeped in acknowledgement. His comlink crackled. "Max, it's Governor Phillips. We've got company. The big, official, intergalactic kind. Better put on a clean shirt." Max sighed. He'd moved to Proxima Settlement to escape politics and bureaucracy, not to entertain visiting dignitaries. Still, being one of the colony's founding members meant certain responsibilities. "On my way, Governor," he replied, glancing wistfully at his tomatoes. 30 minutes later, freshly showered and marginally more presentable, Max stood alongside 24 other colonists in the settlement's central plaza. A sleek, iridescent ship hovered overhead before gently touching down. The ship's hull shimmered in patterns that Max still found mesmerizing, even after years of interstellar contact. The landing ramp extended with a soft hiss, and out stepped the most elaborate collection of aliens Max had seen since leaving Earth. Leading the procession was a tall, willowy being with blue-tinted skin and eyes that blinked laterally, a Volraxi, if Max remembered correctly. Behind the Volraxi came representatives from at least 5 other species, all wearing what appeared to be ceremonial attire. Governor Phillips stepped forward, arms extended in the universal greeting gesture. "On behalf of Proxima Settlement, I welcome the representatives of the Galactic Confederacy to our humble colony." The Volraxi diplomat inclined its head. "We are pleased to finally visit the newest human settlement. I am Ambassador Trull K, representing the Confederacy's diplomatic corps." Its translator rendered its clicking speech into perfect English. "These are my colleagues from various departments." Everything was going smoothly until a junior diplomat, a squat, orange-skinned being with 3 eyes, spotted the holster on Max's hip. "Weapon," the alien shrieked, backing away dramatically. "Armed civilian." The entire diplomatic entourage froze. Several reached for communication devices. Ambassador Trull K's eyes widened, blinking rapidly. Max looked down at his standard-issue plasma cutter, confused by the reaction. It's just a tool. We all carry them." That only seemed to make matters worse. The ambassador's voice dropped to a concerned whisper. "All of you. Civilians? Carry those?" Governor Phillips cleared her throat. "Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Why don't we continue this discussion over refreshments? Max, would you mind explaining our settlement's practical needs to our guests?" And just like that, Max Thornton, who had come to Proxima to escape complications, found himself appointed as the colony's impromptu ambassador to a suddenly very nervous galactic confederacy. "Let me start from the beginning," Max said, sipping the synthetic coffee that still tasted nothing like the real thing. The diplomatic delegation sat across from him in the colony's meeting hall, maintaining what seemed like a deliberately safe distance. When humans first made contact with alien life, the Arcturians, about 15 years ago, we were already an interplanetary species. We had colonies on Mars, mining operations throughout the asteroid belt, research stations on several moons of Jupiter and Saturn. We weren't unified politically, but we weren't at war either. Ambassador Trull K nodded. The peaceful status of humanity was a factor in your species' rapid acceptance into the Confederacy. "Right," Max continued, "and when the Galactic Confederacy invited Earth to join, we were thrilled. Suddenly, the stars weren't just distant lights, they were destinations. The offer to establish colonies on habitable worlds within Confederate space was like a dream come true." A thin, gray-skinned alien with enormous eyes, Max thought it might be a Calorian, raised a spindly finger. Yet you brought weapons to these peaceful settlements. Max suppressed a sigh. See, that's where the misunderstanding begins. From our perspective, we didn't bring weapons. We brought tools. The gathered aliens exchanged skeptical glances. Look, humans evolved on a predator-rich world. Earth's natural history is basically one long story of things trying to eat other things. So when we build tools, they often serve multiple purposes, including defense. He pulled out his plasma cutter, causing several diplomats to flinch. This is primarily for cutting through tough materials. The fact that it could theoretically be used against an aggressor is secondary. A memory surfaced, and Max chuckled. You know, there was this incident back when humans first joined the Confederacy. A galactic dignitary visited the Mars colony and saw a child's toy, a water gun that shot streams of colored liquid. The poor official nearly caused an interstellar incident, thinking we were arming our children. None of the aliens seemed to find this anecdote amusing. That misunderstanding was resolved, Ambassador Trell K said stiffly. However, it appears we have overlooked certain cultural differences. Max nodded. Humans have always been toolmakers. And yes, some of our tools can be dangerous, but so is a hammer if you use it wrong. The difference is intent. Yet, even as peaceful settlers, a reptilian diplomat interjected, you arrive equipped for combat. We arrive equipped for survival, Max corrected. Proxima Centauri b is a beautiful world, but it's not Earth. We face environmental challenges, unknown flora and fauna, and yes, sometimes security concerns. We're engineers, farmers, teachers, and scientists, not soldiers. The ambassador's translator struggled to keep up with its rapid clicking. Our preliminary reports indicated your settlement was primarily agricultural and scientific in nature. There was no mention of defensive capabilities. Because we don't consider them defensive capabilities, Max explained, feeling like he was talking in circles. To us, these are everyday tools with multiple applications. A squat, purple-skinned alien leaned forward. You mean to say that all humans routinely carry multi-purpose tools that can function as weapons? Pretty much, Max shrugged. It's just practical. From stone axes to Swiss Army knives to modern multiphasic tools, humans like efficiency. The diplomatic team conferred in hushed tones. Max caught snippets about reassessment and security protocols. Finally, Ambassador Trell K addressed him again. Mr. Thornton, in the interest of thorough cultural exchange, we would appreciate a tour of your settlement. With particular emphasis on these tools your people routinely employ. Max had a sinking feeling that his quiet afternoon of gardening had just turned into an interstellar incident. Of course, Ambassador. I'd be happy to show you around. As they rose to leave, the squat alien who had first noticed Max's plasma cutter whispered loudly to a colleague. No wonder they advanced from stone tools to space travel in only 12,000 years. They never stopped developing weapons. Max decided it was probably best not to correct that particular misconception. The tour began in the settlement's agricultural sector, where colonists tended to fields of hybrid crops, Earth species genetically modified to thrive in Proxima's soil and longer day cycles. As you can see, Max gestured, we're primarily focused on establishing sustainable food production. Most of our equipment is agricultural. A farmer named Javier was operating what looked like a cross between a tractor and a spider, its multiple limbs simultaneously tilling soil, planting seeds, and analyzing soil composition. Ambassador Trell Ka observed the machine with interest. An impressive device. Purely agricultural. Of course, Max said. Then he winced as Javier demonstrated how the machine's limbs could be reconfigured into a defensive posture, complete with what were definitely not farming attachments. Just in case of wild animal incursions, Javier explained cheerfully, oblivious to the diplomat's discomfort. Last month, something like a cross between a bear and a praying mantis tried to make a meal of our corn crop. This baby scared it off right quick. Max hurried the delegation along to the residential area, hoping for less alarming exhibits. The neat rows of prefabricated homes looked peaceful enough, with colonists going about their daily business. Our housing units are designed for maximum efficiency in space and energy usage, Max explained. Each home is largely self-sufficient, with solar collection, water recycling, and basic manufacturing capabilities. A bald diplomat with golden skin and 4 arms, Max believed they were a Takovian, pointed to what appeared to be decorative panels on the homes. In those structures. Energy shields, Max replied automatically. Standard for protection against radiation bursts from Proxima Centauri. Capable of repelling weapons fire? The Takovian asked shrewdly. Max hesitated. Well, theoretically, yes, but that's not there. And those, interrupted another diplomat, pointing to satellite dishes on each roof. Communication arrays, also weather monitors and basic defensive scanners. The aliens exchanged glances that even Max, with limited experience in xenobiology, could identify as alarmed. It was at this point that a tall, imposing alien in what appeared to be a military uniform pushed forward. Until now, this member of the delegation had remained silent, observing from the back. I am Admiral Krex of the Confederacy Defense Force, the alien announced, its voice deep and resonant even through the translator. I believe it is time we dispensed with pleasantries. These homes are fortified positions. These tools are thinly disguised weapons. This peaceful settlement has the defensive capabilities of a military outpost. Max blinked in surprise. That's a significant overstatement, Admiral. Yes, our homes have certain protective features, but they're primarily designed for comfortable living. Admiral Krex's skin, a mottled pattern of gray and green, darkened with what Max presumed was emotion. Then perhaps you would care to explain why my scanners detect energy signatures consistent with particle weapons in nearly every dwelling. Oh, you mean the household protectors? Max said, realizing too late that this was perhaps not the best terminology. They're just standard equipment for emergencies. The Admiral's 4 eyes narrowed simultaneously. Show me. With a sigh, Max led the delegation to his own home, a modest unit at the edge of the settlement with a small garden and a workshop attached. He placed his palm on the door, which recognized him and slid open. Come in, he invited, though I should warn you, I wasn't expecting company. The interior was cluttered but functional, a combined living and dining area, a small kitchen, and doors leading to other rooms. Nothing overtly threatening, until Admiral Krex pointed to what looked like a decorative panel on the wall. That is not art, the Admiral stated flatly. No, Max admitted. That's my home defense system control panel. With visible trepidation, Ambassador Trell asked, and what exactly does this system defend against? Whatever needs defending against, Max answered honestly. Dangerous wildlife, environmental hazards, unlikely but possible hostile visitors. At the ambassador's insistence, Max reluctantly demonstrated the system's interface. Holographic displays showed the house's shield status, sensor readings of the surrounding area, and what was unmistakably a weapons deployment schematic. This is a civilian dwelling. Admiral Krex's voice had risen nearly an octave. A pretty basic one, Max confirmed. Nothing fancy. The Admiral's skin now pulsed with dark patches. Mr. Thornton, what you consider basic would qualify as military grade on many Confederate worlds. Before Max could respond, his comlink chimed. Max, it's Governor Phillips. How's the tour going? Max glanced at the increasingly agitated diplomats. There seems to be some concern about our standard equipment. Ah, the governor replied. Perhaps you should bring them to the community center. We could provide a more comprehensive overview. Max wasn't sure that showing the aliens more human tools was the solution, but he agreed. As they left his house, Admiral Krex hung back, scanning the innocent-looking dwelling with increasingly complex devices. Fascinating, the Admiral muttered. Their basic civilian housing could withstand orbital bombardment. Max pretended not to hear that particular observation. The community center sat at the heart of Proxima Settlement, a large, multi-purpose building that served as meeting hall, recreation facility, and emergency shelter. As they approached, Max noticed his neighbor Ellie Harper working on something outside the building. Ellie was the settlement's head of security, a title that, until today, Max had considered largely ceremonial. She was tinkering with what looked like a standard perimeter beacon. "Hey Max," she called cheerfully. "Governor Phillips said you're giving our guests the grand tour?" "Something like that," Max replied. "The delegation has some questions about our equipment." Ellie's eyes widened slightly as she took in Admiral Krex's increasingly agitated demeanor. "I see. Well, I'm just calibrating our new atmospheric anomaly detectors." She patted the device affectionately. "Want me to show them how it works?" Before Max could tactfully decline, Ambassador Trell K stepped forward. "Yes, please demonstrate." With a shrug, Ellie activated the device. A holographic interface sprang to life, showing a detailed scan of the surrounding area extending several kilometers in all directions. "It monitors weather patterns, tracks wildlife movements, and alerts us to any approaching vessels," she explained. "Basic stuff, but reliable." Admiral Krex pushed forward, examining the device with professional interest. "This is not merely an atmospheric monitor. It is a military-grade sensor array capable of detecting stealth craft." Ellie blinked innocently. "Is it? We just use it to track those bear mantis things I mentioned earlier and predict storms." The Admiral's skin now pulsed rapidly. "And this?" he demanded, pointing to a secondary interface. "Oh, that's just the response system," Ellie said casually. "If the sensors detect something problematic, that controls our automated defense grid." The diplomatic delegation went very still. "Automated. Defense. Grid." Admiral Krex repeated slowly, each word seeming to pain him. "For wildlife," Ellie clarified quickly, "and extreme weather events." A junior diplomat who had been operating a scanning device of his own suddenly made a high-pitched sound that caused several humans passing by to wince. "Admiral," the diplomat said urgently, "I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with particle beam technology, electromagnetic pulse generators, and what appears to be a gravitational manipulation system." Max winced. The settlement's defenses were more robust than he'd realized. Ellie, still oblivious to the diplomat's growing horror, nodded proudly. "The particle beams are non-lethal, of course," she assured them. "They just discourage the larger predators. The EMP is for malfunctioning equipment, safety feature, you understand. And the gravity thing helps during the seasonal storms." Admiral Krex turned to Ambassador Trell K. "This peaceful settlement has defensive capabilities exceeding those of a Confederate cruiser." And Max intervened. "You're making it sound much more impressive than it is. These are practical tools for a frontier colony. We're scientists and farmers, not soldiers." "Then perhaps," the ambassador suggested carefully, "you would be willing to demonstrate these practical tools in action? To help us understand their benign nature?" Max exchanged a glance with Ellie, who shrugged. "I mean, we could run a test sequence if that would help." 20 minutes later, the entire diplomatic delegation stood on a viewing platform overlooking a test range at the settlement's edge. Governor Phillips had joined them, along with several other colonists who seemed bemused by the aliens' interest in their routine equipment. "We use this area for calibrating equipment and training new arrivals," Ellie explained. "Nothing fancy." At her command, a series of targets appeared, some stationary, others moving in complex patterns. Ellie activated what she had described as basic perimeter defenses. What followed was a display that left even Max impressed. Precision beams struck moving targets with perfect accuracy. Force fields materialized and dematerialized in complex patterns. Drones deployed countermeasures against simulated threats. The aliens watched in silence, their expressions, even on faces very different from human ones, unmistakably stunned. When the demonstration ended, Admiral Krex turned to Governor Phillips. "Governor, your colony has the defensive capability to repel a small fleet." Governor Phillips looked surprised. "That's quite an exaggeration, Admiral. We're just prepared for the unexpected." "The unexpected," repeated the Admiral flatly. "Such as an invasion?" "Or dangerous wildlife," Ellie added helpfully. "Or extreme weather. Or solar flares. Or equipment malfunctions. Really, it's just common sense." The communication breakdown between species had never been more apparent. What humans considered practical preparation, the Confederacy representatives clearly viewed as military readiness bordering on paranoia. Max stepped in. "Perhaps we should move on to the agricultural labs? No defense systems there, just plants." The ambassador nodded stiffly. "Yes, perhaps that would be best." As they turned to leave, Admiral Krex muttered something that Max's translator rendered as, "No wonder they've never been successfully invaded." The tour of the agricultural labs was proceeding peacefully, finally, when Max's comlink chimed with an emergency tone. Simultaneously, every colonist present received the same alert. "Perimeter breach. Sector 7, announced a calm, automated voice. Unknown entity approaching settlement boundaries. Threat assessment in progress." The colonists reacted with practiced efficiency, calmly checking their equipment and awaiting further information. The diplomatic delegation, by contrast, erupted into alarmed chatter. "Is this common?" Ambassador Trell K asked, voice higher than usual. "Every few weeks," Max replied, checking his comlink for details. "Usually wildlife, sometimes environmental. Looks like a large predator, similar to the bear mantis Javier mentioned earlier. But this one's bigger." Governor Phillips approached, her expression serious but not panicked. "Ambassador, Admiral, please remain here with your delegation. Our response team will handle this situation promptly." Admiral Krex stepped forward. "My vessel is equipped with advanced weaponry. We could neutralize the threat from orbit." The colonists exchanged bemused glances. "That's very kind," the governor replied diplomatically, "but hardly necessary. Our standard protocols are more than adequate." The admiral's skin darkened. "You misunderstand. I am offering military assistance from the Galactic Confederacy." "For a wildlife incursion?" Ellie asked, sounding genuinely confused. "That's like using a fusion reactor to toast bread." Before the admiral could respond, the settlement's alert system updated. Multiple entities detected. Estimated size, large. Behavior pattern, hunting pack. Or automated defenses engaged. Max watched as understanding dawned on the alien faces. These humans weren't just equipped for defense, they considered this situation routine. Perhaps Ambassador Trell Ka suggested carefully, "We should observe your response procedures for cultural exchange purposes." Governor Phillips nodded. "Of course." Max, would you escort our guests to the command center? It offers the best view of the situation. The command center, a term Max realized too late might reinforce the aliens' misconceptions, was a small room adjacent to the community center. Inside, a handful of colonists monitored holographic displays showing the settlement's perimeter. On the main screen, they could see a pack of creatures that indeed resembled a nightmarish cross between earth bears and praying mantises, each standing 3 meters tall with powerful limbs ending in scythe-like appendages. 7 individuals, reported a technician, largest pack we've encountered. Admiral Krex observed the creatures with professional interest. Formidable predators. My security team is standing by. Really not necessary, Ellie assured him, tapping commands into the control console. Barco watch. On the screen, the settlement's perimeter defense is activated, not with overwhelming force, but with a precisely calibrated response. Sonic deterrents targeted the creature's auditory organs. Targeted energy pulses struck the ground near them, creating barriers of heat that steered them away from the settlement. We try not to harm the local wildlife unless absolutely necessary, Max explained. They're just following their instincts. Admiral Krex watched the efficient defense with narrowed eyes. This is a remarkably sophisticated response for a civilian colony. It's just practical, Max replied, the phrase becoming something of a mantra. Then the situation changed. One creature, larger than the others, charged directly toward the perimeter, ignoring the deterrents. Alpha specimen exhibiting unusual behavior, the technician announced, switching to Protocol 3. A small drone launched from the perimeter, flying directly at the charging creature. It emitted a pulsing light that caused the creature to hesitate. Biometric disruptor, Ellie explained. Confuses their nervous system temporarily. No permanent harm. The alpha creature paused, swaying, then lunged forward with unexpected speed, slashing the drone from the air. Well, that's new, Ellie remarked calmly, activating containment field. A shimmering barrier materialized around the creature, which thrashed against the energy field to no avail. The other creatures, seeing their leader contained, retreated into the dense vegetation. We'll relocate the Alpha to a safe distance, Governor Phillips told the diplomatic delegation. Our xenobiologists will want to study this new behavior. Admiral Krex turned to the ambassador, speaking in what the Admiral clearly thought was a private frequency but which Max's translator had no trouble rendering. These peaceful settlers handled a threat that would require a military unit on most worlds. The ambassador clicked a response. Perhaps we have misunderstood humanity's definition of civilian all these years. Max cleared his throat. The containment field is standard equipment for wildlife management. Again, this is routine for us. Governor Phillips nodded. Perhaps we should conclude the tour for today. I imagine our guests have much to discuss among themselves. As the delegation filed out, Max overheard Admiral Krex muttering. Their routine equipment could disable a battlecruiser. The final meeting took place in the settlement's conference room, where Governor Phillips had arranged a display of Earth foodstuffs and beverages, an attempt at cultural diplomacy that felt somewhat inadequate given the day's revelations. Ambassador Trell-Ka sat stiffly, data pad in hand. Governor Phillips, on behalf of the Galactic Confederacy, I must express concern regarding certain aspects of your settlement. I'm listening, the governor replied calmly. It appears, the ambassador continued, that there has been a significant misunderstanding regarding human settlements. Our records classified your species as peaceful agricultural colonists. Today's observations suggest that classification was incomplete. Admiral Krex interjected, your defensive capabilities exceed those of military installations on many Confederate worlds. Max couldn't help himself, but they're not defensive capabilities. They're tools, practical equipment for survival on a frontier world. Indeed, the ambassador replied diplomatically. It seems our translation of practical and yours differ substantially. Governor Phillips leaned forward. Ambassador, Admiral, humanity has always been clear about our nature. We are explorers and settlers, not conquerors. The equipment you've seen today is standard for any human colony. That, Admiral Krex said emphatically, is precisely what concerns us. The ambassador consulted its data pad. The Confederacy has authorized 17 human settlements on various worlds within our space. If each is equipped similarly, they are, the governor confirmed, some more extensively, depending on local conditions. A moment of profound silence followed this revelation. Finally, Ambassador Trell-Ka spoke carefully. I believe the Confederacy will need to update its protocols regarding human settlements. Of course, the governor agreed readily. We're always open to compliance with reasonable regulations. And perhaps, the Admiral added, discussions about technology sharing for purely defensive purposes, naturally. Max fought back a smile. They'd gone from suspicion to procurement inquiries in a single day. The ambassador rose. This has been a most educational visit. We thank you for your transparency, however. Unexpected the revelations have been. As the diplomatic party prepared to depart, Admiral Krex approached Max privately. Tell me, Mr. Thornton, if these are your standard tools for a peaceful settlement, what do actual human military installations look like? Max considered the question. To be honest, Admiral, I wouldn't know. I've never served in the military or visited a military base. I'm just a botanist who likes to be prepared. The Admiral's skin displayed a pattern Max couldn't interpret. A botanist, the Admiral repeated slowly, and with equipment that could repel an orbital assault. Well, Proxima Centauri has unpredictable solar flares, Max explained reasonably, and the local wildlife is still largely unknown. It's just common sense to be prepared. Common sense, echoed the Admiral. Indeed. As the delegation boarded their ship, Max overheard one final exchange between the ambassador and the Admiral. Revise all threat assessments for human territories, the Admiral was saying, and cancel the planned military exercises near their colony on Tau Ceti. Agreed, replied the ambassador, and perhaps we should reconsider allowing them to establish that outpost near the Rigelian border. On the contrary, the Admiral replied, I'm thinking we should encourage it. The Rigelians have been problematic lately. Max smiled to himself as he headed back to his garden. His tomatoes still needed attention, and he had a new irrigation idea to try. Just a practical solution to a practical problem, the human way. 3 weeks later, a Confederacy courier arrived with an official communication. The Galactic Confederacy had updated its classification of human settlements. They were now listed as protected cultural preserves with strict warnings against unauthorized approach. And somewhere on a distant world, another human settler unpacked their basic tools without the slightest idea that they were single-handedly securing an entire sector of space.